He's Tony. I'm Mike. We're here to watch Will Burn. In this episode, episode 29, we're covering Tony's favorite, Brain De Palma, Body Double, 1984. Fantastic movie. Stars. I should have brought the goddamn list down. I'm used to reading off a prompter, but since I'm not from the
Melanie
computer,
Griffith and no one else that fucking matters.
This is so true.
Barbara Crampton's titties look spectacular in the whole 16 seconds she's on film.
They do.
They do.
They do.
They could have given her a fucking speaking line. She was in Reanimator, for fuck's sake. Well, talk about a fucking waste.
She served her purpose. Okay.
That's some mean shit. Barbara
Hey,
Crampton deserves better. Fuck you, Brian De Palma.
He brought you plain great titties through the whole movie. I mean, through the whole movie, there's titties. So, starring Melanie Griffith as Holly Body, Craig Wesson as Jake Scully, Deborah Shelton as Gloria Revelle, Greg Henry as Sam Picard, Dennis Franz as Ruben the director, and Barbara Crampton as Carol, who's in there for all 2 seconds. Oh, hang on. One other thing, and I knew I recognized this lady. The lady in the lingerie shop, Slavata Yavin, who is also Zool in Ghostbusters. The basic plot is Jake Scully is a actor who has a claustrophobic panic attack while he's in a coffin during the filming of a B-rate vampire movie. The director's like, "Hey, Jake, it's no big deal, baby. Take the rest of the day off, come back the next day, and we'll figure it out."
Then the set burns down.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, it catches on fire.
Yeah, it doesn't burn down. They fix it later.
Yes.
And anyway, so Jake goes home to find the fine and sexy Barbara Crampton screwing some other dude. So
because our lead character can't make his woman smile. And he knows it after he sees her come right in his face. And he laments this at the bar
Sparkle.
later on. She
sparkle or shine or
glowed.
That was
Yes.
his glowed.
And he couldn't even make her shimmer.
Yeah.
This is our hero, ladies and gentlemen.
It is. So anyways, after seeing that, he goes down to the bar, has one bourbon, one scotch, one beer.
Deals with his small penis fact. Deals with the fact that he is not getting the business.
So anyways, he goes to the bar, and he ends up crashing at the bartender's house that night. So naturally doesn't have a place to stay. So during the course of the day, before he goes back to the set, he does his acting class, where he has another freak out, with the dude, because they're talking about his claustrophobia, trying to work through that. While he's there, he meets a guy named Sam Bouchard. And Sam's like, "Hey, man, I heard you need a place to stay. I got to take off, so maybe we can help each other out." So Sam takes Jake back to his place that he's watching and gives him the grand tour. And before he leaves, like, "Hey, there's one special little thing to show you." And so he calls Jake over to his telescope, and then across the valley, every night at a specific time, you get to see this girl do her little dance routine. So naturally,
and then she masturbates furiously. Yeah. So just so you know that's what's coming. It's not just like she's not reenacting the end scene from Girls Just Want to Have Fun.
But at any rate, so that sells Jake. Jake's in there, and then from there, shenanigans ensue.
That's a really nice way of putting it. I'm just going to say our leading actor looks like a budget Bill Maher.
Yes.
And now that I've said that out loud, you're never going to escape it. You're going to see Bill Maher in that role for now till the end of time. Number two, spoilers be damned, our main character is a creep. Seriously. First, he's watching this girl through a telescope, and then he feels like he's got to try and follow her around. And what happens is just the most inexplicable series of bullshit events that
it's
all intended to...
It's 100% contrived from the word go. No
Yeah.
doubt about it. I will not deny that.
They started out at the end point and then worked their way backward.
No, they didn't.
Oh, come on.
No, they didn't.
They had to prove that Sam Bashard killed Gloria, what's her name, but you know, and our main character was the fall guy for this because he was watching.
Oh yeah, he was the patsy.
You know, not
the patsy. He was the witness. He was the witness.
He was the alibi, technically,
Yeah.
because he saw the Indian. I believe is how.
Well, not really an alibi. He was just a witness.
Well, yeah, he was the witness that proved that Sam Bashard didn't do it because Sam Bashard is blonde and fair-skinned, and the guy that killed her is like got long black hair and dark skin and all this, and so yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just gonna say it. Okay, I love Carrie. Brian De Palma did a phenomenal job with Carrie. I fucking hated this movie. I have watched it twice. I watched it once, knew that I hated it, watched it again, and made sure that I hated it, and I do. And like, the main character is fucking despicable, first off. Second off, his buddy Sam Bashard somehow makes our main character look like he's... better.
Well, you don't see him that much on screen
better.
anyway.
But
you know.
yeah, third off, the girl that he's obsessed with, that he's chasing around, like trying to protect her and save her, like all she sees is some Bill Maher looking creepy stalker guy that's like chasing her through the shopping mall while she's shopping for panties and trying to not get her purse stolen. And then when he actually runs into her the first time, he like saves her purse. Not really, because the dude runs off with it anyway. And then, like, has a panic attack because somehow being in a tunnel freaks him out. And then he, like, gropes her and makes out with her. And, like, this is our main character. From her standpoint, he's the fucking villain. I'm just going to say that, number one. Number two, if you're going to kill somebody with a drill, you should probably go cordless. Or bring an extension cord, something. That whole sequence was some of the most ridiculous, dumb shit I've ever seen in my life.
It is awesome.
and third off, Melanie Griffith doesn't appear until past the halfway mark, and the fact that our main character is laying in bed at someone else's house that he's house sitting for, watching porn, and that's when he has the big revelation of, oh, hey, that wasn't Gloria that I saw dancing, that was this girl from this porn movie. It's the same dance moves. It must be her. And then he goes down to the porn set and talks his way into doing a scene with Melanie Griffith. The best part about this movie is Frankie Goes to Hollywood.
Relax, don't do it when you wanna go to it. Relax, don't do it when you wanna go.
So, are you
Kudos for that.
Are you done with your rant?
I don't know that I'll ever be done with it, but I'm willing to sit quietly for
Okay.
a few moments while you tell us exactly what it is you find admirable about this film. I'm going to sip this lovely ski.
So, before I did any deep research on this, I watched it again. Is it a good movie? Not really. Is the plot absolutely contrived? Damn straight from the word go to the very end. It is fun as hell, though. Once you get past all that stuff, and then here's the other big thing, is Brian De Palma actually did this after he did Scarface. And if you're not familiar with Brian De Palma, he did a ton of good films.
He did a ton of films.
ton of good films that you will recognize. Scarface, Carrie, Untouchables, Carlia's Way, Dress to Kill, Blowout, The First Mission Impossible, Casualties of War, on, etc., etc. So anyway, so he did this movie after Scarface, and when he did Scarface, which I'll be honest, I'm not really a fan of. I could kind of care less for Scarface, but a lot of people love it. But at any rate, so he was having issues with the censor board. They wanted to make it an X movie, and he fought long and hard to get it an R. And so he's kind of pissed off about all that. He's like, well, if they don't like that, well, wait till I show them what's coming next. So this is in retaliation or in kind of response to them give him a rash of shit about Scarface. So this is intentionally very smutty, dirty, gritty, graphic, and all the above. And
But it's not,
But he
though.
achieved all that stuff in spades.
That's kind of the thing here.
It's not what, though?
That's why I don't
It's not what?
find Brian De Palma really that great. Because there's a
It's
lot
not smutty?
there is a lot of stuff that is topically in the film that's smutty. Like, Melanie Griffith is a porn actress. We see her boobs for maybe 2 seconds.
No,
Maybe.
he
Barbara-
totally forgets the whole strip scene in the movie that lasts for about 2 minutes.
In silhouette. And it poorly
No.
lit, and you can't even make out her face.
No,
so
that's just the dancing scene. When he sees her dance in the actual porn where he discovers, hey, this is the girl dancing in the movie. And they show the porn, and you see plenty of her tits, you see plenty of her ass. It is all there to see. You must have forgotten or tuned out.
I didn't forget.
It's just there.
It's so,
and hang on a second. And not only that, but then as in the background, there's a bunch of stuff that he's watching. Even before he sees the Holly Body video,
Yeah.
there's the interview with the other porn star. There's all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes and on the porn set. It is peppered all over the place.
But at the end of the day, yeah, Brian De Palma was pushing buttons, so he wanted to have
Mm-hmm.
a character that was in the porn industry, and this guy's a failed actor, and blah, 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 blah. And that's exactly how it comes off. It comes off as
Mm-hmm. The way he
a angry
intended.
teenager writing a really shitty story so that he can throw all this stuff, and people are supposed to clutch their pearls and go, oh, it's so offensive, and I'm watching it going, it's not offensive, it's a boring-ass movie. Everything that happens in it is just, it's dumb. It's the main character is dumb. He's not likable. He's a creep. Gloria has zero character development beyond the fact that, you see her dancing in lingerie
Well,
and
she's
then
just
masturbating.
the body that's supposed to die.
But
so
then
yeah.
it's not even really her. So, and then the fact that our main character talks his way onto a porn set, talks his way into
Well, he
a
actually
sex
talked
scene.
away. He actually calls in to kind of get information, and then while he's on the phone, there's a guy there. The dude's like, I'm not just a stunt cock. I have a reputation in this town.
Yes?
Hey, I'm not just some fucking stunt cock. I'm an actor. I don't have to take this shit. I got a reputation in this business.
It's one of the great lines. So anyways, he hears that they're looking for people, and he's like, well, hey, how long are auditions going for? They're going on for this long. So he actually goes down to audition. Now, is it believable that he's going to get a role? No, absolutely not.
No, well,
he's discount Bill Maher.
No.
I'll give you that all day long.
No,
no.
It's
There's-
not just that he gets a role, it's that he gets a role with the star of the movie.
Yes.
And that's the bullshit part
It
of
is.
this.
The hands down. That part is absolute bullshit. But it kind of is what it is in that regard. So just know what you're getting into with this movie. But anyway, so again, getting back to my point is that he was doing this as a fuck you to Hollywood. Melanie Griffith even says so herself, like, this is just a parody of Hollywood. And actually, Ebert, of all people, loved this movie and gave it 3.5 out of 4 stars, which shocked me. Which I was like, wow, really? The guy that hates slashers loves this one? Because it has slasher elements in it. There's actually one death in the movie, and it's the drill scene that he was talking about.
And my soul.
Lifted straight from Slumber Party Massacre, completely. I mean, there's only one movie that has a drill in it.
Except for Slumber Party Massacre had better characters and a more defined motive for murder.
Oh shit!
So,
Save it.
I'm not a Brian De Palma fan. I make no apologies about that. He's made 2 movies that I really enjoyed and a lot of shit film that gets a lot of ink.
What are the 2 you like?
The 2 that I like, Blowout is actually a fairly solid
Well, that's
thriller.
fantastic.
And here's the thing.
What's the other one? Hang on.
The other one is Carrie.
Okay.
And I think Carrie is a fucking masterpiece. And
Carrie is an absolute
Carrie
masterpiece.
proves that Brian De Palma can explore character and do it convincingly if he wants to. And Scarface is proof that Brian De Palma found out that cheap theatrics and stunts sell. They put asses in seats. And I guess at the end of the day, Brian De Palma is a phenomenal businessman, but he's a really fucking mediocre director. And if you ever need a good laugh, Go back, watch the first 10 minutes of Scarface. When they're at the encampment and the violence breaks out, watch what's going on with the background actors, because it looks like exactly what it is. A bunch of extras who don't know how to do anything like, theatric, stage fighting. And it looks like kids faking it in a video camera. It's so hilariously bad. And for some reason, this film is lauded as this great film. I don't get the love for Scarface.
I don't get the love for Scarface either. It's really not my bag, and it's kind of one of those. I don't know. To me, it's like The Godfather. Everybody loves The Godfather. I could give two poops about The Godfather. It's just kind of there. Whatever.
I love The Godfather, but back on Brian De Palma, Bonfire of the Vanities is the first Brian De Palma film that I can think of that critics were like, "This sucks." And the funny thing about it is that it's exactly like this film.
I'll have to check that one out.
And it's got a.
If you hate it, I'll probably enjoy it.
It's Melanie Griffith, Tom Hanks, Bruce Willis.
Oh yeah.
Everybody in this film,
Yeah.
and yet somehow it just falls on the floor like a wet, sloppy turd that it is. And this movie is no different. It's just proof that Brian De Palma, visually, he can do some interesting things.
He does some really great stuff with the camera. His stuff has a great old school, old timey quality to it, but yet still kind of looking modern at the same time. He can do that very well. And there's obvious shades of Alfred Hitchcock. I mean, it's blatant that that he's an absolute Alfred Hitchcock worshiper.
That's kind of
in that regard, I can understand the cinema snob aspect of it. It's like, well, he's just a hack, Alfred Hitchcock. I'll even say he's kind of a hack Alfred Hitchcock.
It's obvious he's a very big fan of classic film noir, and it's obvious that he wanted to try and update it for the 80s or the 90s whenever he was actually shooting his films, and that's exactly why it doesn't work, because he just didn't go far enough.
See, I think it
feels old-timey.
I'm okay with that, though. See, to me, it rides the line of old-timey and modern, where I think he could have actually showed a little restraint, which I know, again, with this movie, he was purposely doing what he was doing for a reason. But sometimes if he dial it back a little bit, really, for me, the biggest sin in this movie is two, and it's the lead character. He needed somebody stronger in the role.
Yes.
I really wish he had John Travolta in this role, because he worked with John Travolta before multiple times already, with Carrie #1 and Blowout, right there. And then if you would dial back the creeper level from like 11 to about a 7, would have helped a lot. It's one thing to have a guy looking through a telescope to watch a chick, but it's like another thing like stalker all over the place and pull out panties and sniff them. That shit.
Yeah.
It's super creeper. I get that all day long, and it certainly doesn't help the character and help my case in this movie. So I'll give you that all day long, but there's a lot of cool elements in this movie. There's a lot of twists and turns and stuff. There's a lot of contrivances in it, but at the same time, it's fun. It really is a fun movie. You kind of have to turn your brain off a little bit with this one and just kind of enjoy the ride. If you're in it for a ride and you go for the ride, it's a fun ride. If you're gonna snob out on it, you're gonna hate it all day long.
You can call me a film snob all you want, and I'll wear that badge with pride. But I'm just gonna say, I have watched plenty of Brian De Palma films, so it's not like I'm coming at this like, oh, I just don't like him, so I don't watch his stuff. Because there's all kinds of people out there like, oh, Zack Snyder made it. Well, I don't want to see it at all because Zack Snyder. That's not me. I have watched a lot of.
For the record, I like Zack Snyder. I just don't like his Justice League stuff. So anyways, moving on.
I'm just going to say this: if you want a fair comparison, go back and watch the original Scarface. And I've seen the original Scarface, and I can tell you that it is a really solid film. Even for being in black and white and having very old-timey acting styles, and it's over the top. It's definitely over the top. But it is a far more engaging film than Brian De Palma's Scarface. And it is a far more believable film. And therein, this is that period in Brian De Palma's career where he was basically trying to do film noir for the 80s. He was trying to do a gangster film for the 80s. And he got so tied into trying to throw in all these bullshit 80s references just so he could prove how modern his films were. That he,
I don't know about all that.
I
don't think it's so much that. this movie is like supremely meta in a time when meta wasn't so popular of a thing. And meta in the sense that, you know, it's a movie that has a movie in it. There's actors that are playing in roles, so there's a lot of that stuff going on in it. Really, I can't think of like a single specific like 80s reference in there, short of Frankie Goes to Hollywood is really the only in-your-face thing, which also then is also very meta because you have, and at that time, a very popular song where they were shooting a video of it in the film. So
well, actually, Brain De Palma shot the original music video for it. It is in this movie, but it was the one that was never played on MTV because it was too risque.
Yeah. So long before Scream, you had this, and that is a jacked up video. Like literally, there is a fat man simulated ejaculating on a bunch of people. So there's that.
Like I said, to me, it's just one of those. It's trying too hard to be sensationalist.
Oh, well, that was his whole goal.
Well, yeah, no, I get that. I understand that. But that's why these films fail in my eyes, because here we are, and it is 40 years after the fact. Well, almost 40 years after the fact. And like, all that, none of that, no one gives a shit about porn anymore. Mm-hmm. You know,
this was 1984. This was long before.
No. This was
long before you could dial up on the fucking internet and just get porn available. You had to steal your parents' porn.
Or you had to go to your local video store and actually rent your porn in the back room with the beaded curtain and the sign that said, no one under 21.
But again, in 1984, that was just starting to become popular. Like, they still had Betamax. And actually reference that as like, do you have VHS? You have VHS, you got Beta. And apparently they had like in film as well, because he mentions like, what, 3/4 and 1/2 inch? Or...
On VHS? Yeah, VHS, whatever you want. 1/2 inch, 3/4, Beta.
Some shit like that.
16 millimeter is generally what they did a lot of porn film on back in the day. 32 millimeter, not 32, no, 16 millimeter and 8 millimeter, 16 millimeter, 8 millimeter, because people had projectors at home, and they could show films that way. But at the same time, what I find kind of funny about this is there's a scene with Melanie Griffith, and this is the one scene that actually in this film works. This is the one scene that I actually found enjoyable, was that Dollar Store Bill Maher and Melanie Griffith go to this party, and they run into somebody who is an actress friend of budget Bill Maher's, and Bill Maher is like told Melanie Griffith that he is a producer and he wants to work with her and he wants to hire her for a film, and so they go to this party and they run into it, and the friend that they run into is like, well, you know, do you know anybody that's got any roles for me? And Melanie Griffith's like, I know some guys that's hiring, and you know, go down, tell them this name, tell them I sent you, blah blah blah. And the actress is like, well, who's that? And he's like, how do you not know who this is? What are you from, a different planet? Anyway, you know what? Do you like, you know, do you work girl on girl? And you know, she responds, well, acting is acting.
One more thing. Do you mind working with ladies?
Well, no. I mean, acting is acting, right?
Right, that's right.
That whole scene, and I'm not going to do it.
That was so solid.
That scene is solid and proof that Brian De Palma can do really contextual, really nuanced character work that nobody feels dumbed down, nobody feels talked to, nobody feels like the butt of the joke. It's just the circumstance is funny, and it genuinely is. That's the one successful scene in this film. I would have much rather have had 10 more scenes like that. And this movie would have benefited for that. But at the end of the day, you know, we got to shock everybody, we got to titillate people, we got to do this, we got to do that. And again, this movie got lost in its own bullshit, just like Scarface gets lost in its own bullshit. The cast was capable. It was the script that let them down. And honestly, the super long spin around shots
That's
got
one thing
really old after
That's one
a
thing I
while.
like about Brian De Palma either. He loves the spin around shots. It's in Carrie. I mean, so it's in the DNA like right off the bat. So he loves his extended scenes. I don't care for him too much. I don't like the spinning things either. But what I enjoy him for is his modern interpretation of Hitchcock and his noir stuff. I know it's not your bag. We all at this point know it's not your bag. But it's definitely my bag, and I appreciate that kind of filmmaking. I kind of wish we had some little more modern interpretation stuff. Although we do actually get some of that in a movie that we just did Quick and Dirty on.
Nightmare Alley, yeah.
Nightmare Alley does a fantastic job of kind of bringing that kind of filmmaking. But even though his filmmaking is still very modern too, It's not shot old timey. It's shot in a very modern
It
aspect.
is very much
but
an
it brings
updated
back.
film noir. It is very
Yeah.
much shot using modern sensibilities
Yeah.
and modern color palettes and
Yeah.
techniques, and yet at the same time,
Which is what he does here. But
Well,
of course, this is in the 1980s, so it's a 1980s aesthetic trying to blend in a 1940s, style film or
just-
whatever Hitchcock.
I'm just going to say
shit.
that Guillermo del Toro is trying to tell a very complex, interesting, nuanced narrative. Brian De Palma, decided, I'm doing film noir, but I'm doing 80s film noir, so we got to throw out how 80s it is. And I don't mean 80s in day-glow colors and swooshy lines and,
No,
hyper-close shirts.
and
I mean,
that style of filmmaking.
Yeah.
The filmmaking that happened in that era. Well, Guillermo del Toro isn't doing anything different. He's doing the same thing, but in the 2000s, 2020 era in
Guillermo del
filmmaking.
Toro remembered that character and story counts more than
Well,
than
again,
the veneer
the
of it.
whole point of this movie wasn't to do all that. The whole point of this movie
to
was
piss off the censors.
Yeah, it was a giant you, which for a man that loves, kind of movies, love it or hate it type of films,
I do.
it
And
should be right up your fuck. I mean, I grant it's not up your alley, but I think you would have gave respect, hey.
I can give props without basically giving my admiration, and I'm not faulting Brian De Palma. If you're a fan of Brian De Palma, I don't have an issue with that. I understand that. It's just understand this. It's not to my taste, and if your tastes run similar to mine, you're probably not going to dig this movie at all. And that's kind of it in a nutshell. And I know I go on these long rants, and I know I get like really hyperbolic and pissy about some of the movies that we have to watch. But at the end of the day, I don't find Brian De Palma to be a terribly interesting filmmaker. I see him as, again, he's basically trying to do Hitchcock with 80s sensibilities. Mm-hmm. And Hitchcock doesn't need updating. Hitchcock is just fine. And he's going to be just fine for the next 100 years. 100 years from now, people will still be talking about Hitchcock or Hitchcockian films.
I'll give you that. And
So.
and while he's not trying to redo his films, he's making his own films. Number one. Two, we should have more suspense-driven films. So I welcome anybody that takes any type of cues from Alfred Hitchcock. Bring them on. I like it. As long as it's not an outright ripoff. I'm fine. That's great. I'm missing some good suspense and thrills in my life. I need some of that.
Just not a fan.
Yeah.
Just that's it. And I was not a fan of this one. Not a fan of Scarface. And not a fan of Bonfire of the Vanities. But Bonfire of the Vanities, Tom Hanks is likable in it. Bruce Willis he's in it, and that's not. So yeah, like I said, I've seen plenty of Brian De Palma's filmography. It is what it is. If you're a fan, I'm happy for you.
Again, this movie isn't high art. Obviously, again, he's made as a middle finger to the industry. Not really the industry specifically, but to censorship specifically. Again, it's to me, it's a fun ride. Check it out. And who thinks right? Is Tony right? Or am I right? Or you kind of somewhere in the middle with it. Let us know. Tony, what are we reviewing next?
Next we're going old school. We have watched a remake of a film noir and then an attempt at a 80s version of a film noir. So we are actually going to go old school, and we're going to watch one of my favorite films. It is Tyrone Power, The Razor's Edge. It also has Gene Tierney in it. And it has been a favorite of mine for years, and I think it's high time that we had that conversation. I think Mike needs an introduction to Tyrone Power at the peak of his fame. So,
I haven't seen this. I'm excited to see it. What was the Gene Tierney we watched?
We watched Leave Her to Heaven.
Leave Her to Heaven. She was really good in that one. So I'm excited to see what she does in this one. So we'll see you guys next time.